Hello, McTagg from Fly-Carpin. As you may know, I'm a big proponent of using the best possible knot that we can in fly fishing for carp, and in that spirit I'm going to show you how to put an indestructible loop in the end of your fly line with some thread and a whip finish. This knot has never failed me and never will fail me. It is indestructible. Before I do, you can click on the lower right hand side to subscribe, or you can click on the lower left hand side to go to my knot video library. Now let's get started. Here's a list of tools that you're going to need to make this loop. Feel free to pause if you need to review it in more detail. First, we're going to take the X-Acto knife and we're going to trim away about the final 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch of the plastic lining around the core of the fly line. And we're going to take and we're going to fold it over and kind of pinch it down until there's a nice fine little loop on the end. Next, we're going to take some super glue with a brush applicator, and if you can find these brush applicator super glues, they're really useful for a lot of things. A lot easier to work with. So first we're going to go on ahead and drop just a little bit of super glue in between the loop and pinch it down, and we're just putting that super glue in there to kind of hold things together. It's not really adding much to the structural integrity of the knot. We don't need it to. Now we're going to come in with some thread. In this case I'm using 210 denier red. I do like to use a brighter colored thread here because this connection can kind of serve as just a little bit of a strike indicator in certain scenarios, especially if you fish on a river and sometimes you have to be fishing in current and you have to be giving the carp a little bit of a drift. You can use this as a de facto strike indicator, and it's plenty far enough away from the carp that they don't see it, get alarmed by it. Alright, so we're going to go on ahead and work down where I've got the two pieces of fly line overlapped. And as I work down, I'm just going to scooch my fingers down slowly but surely. Alright, before I get to the end, I want to cut out the tag end of the thread so it isn't sticking out. Now you'll notice that I'm only putting one layer of thread on here. The original, I think it was a Lefty Cray book where I first saw this knot. He would put a big old gob of thread on the end, you know, a big old ball of thread. And I think the intention there was, you know, kind of overkill to make this knot stronger. The honest truth is you don't really have to do that. You're building kind of a composite fiber matrix system here with the thread and the super glue that's really strong. And you know, as I mentioned in the intro, I've never had this knot fail. I did have it fray just a little bit once, but I made an improvement that you're going to see next that solves that problem. Okay, so we've managed to put one layer of thread all the way down our overlap. I'm going to come in here with the whip finish tool. If you can whip finish with your hands, go on ahead and do that. And you really only need a couple of turns here. We don't really need the whip finish to hold things together. It's not what's keeping this in one piece. It's just temporary until we super glue the thing together. So, nice little whip finish. Pull it tight. And then we're going to come in and trim. You know, if you can trim as close as you can, you just, you know, kind of avoid having that little nub of thread sticking out in the super glue. Now we're going to come in with the super glue and we're just going to put in a light coat. Our main goal here is just that the super glue soaks into the thread. We don't need to gob it on. We don't need a ton of super glue here. If this thread soaks it up, it's good enough. And we've let that dry. Now we're going to overlay the whole thing with some UV knot sense. Like I mentioned just a second ago, I did have one of these knots fray, not to the point of failure, but just to the point where the thread was starting to hang out a little bit. And you know, I fixed it before I lost any fish. But if you put on this UV knot sense, then it kind of gives the threads a little bit more protection from, you know, rubbing against rocks and your rod tip, etc. We're going to put on that UV knot sense, and then we're going to use a UV light, set it up, and that's the finished knot. It's nice, it's smooth, it's small, it's discreet, goes in and out of your guides great. It's just as strong or stronger than the welded loops that they're putting on fly lines these days, and you know, it can really be useful. Hope this helps, and like I said earlier, click on the lower right to subscribe. Click on the lower left to go back to my fly fishing for carp video knot library.